Hello, everybody. I don't know what's going on there. My light is acting weird. There we go. Oh, weird. That just came completely out of the blue. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Wonderful world of green screens. I'm just getting us to public. Post it on Facebook, and we should be good to go. Okay, how's everybody today? I think we got things back to control here. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so journeying to collect our love back. That might not make any sense to people, but it's something that I've seen in the collective and people I'm talking to. It's really, really important. It's kind of the journey back to self-love and starting to become aware of why we go into relationship, why we get married, why we seek these paths to love that have been programmed into us at a 3D level, in a 3D reality, to I don't know, satisfy desires within us, needs to procreate, needs to connect with others, the need for touch, the need for all these things are all buried inside of us. And then we come to be born in a 3D reality, and we're taught how those things are, right? Oh, your parents teach you what a relationship is, how parents be a mother and a father, how they raise children, how they have their own sexuality, how they interrelate with religion, and how there's certain expectations around all these parts of 3D reality that program us in how we can be happy and how we need to be happy and how we find love. And then there's all these broken versions that are based on trauma that have like narcissism and gaslighting and codependency, where it's kind of a mangled up version of love. We're trying to fill ourselves because we've been taught to give our own love away on a regular basis. And then these, I'll call it perverted versions, show up, narcissism and codependency, and where we identify ourselves in loving another. So we have a relationship, we have a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever they are, and we give all our love to them so that we can feel love back, because a lot of times that's how it was done in our childhood. Our parents maybe had their own traumas, or maybe they were divorced, or maybe they had parents that had some lineage trauma that was all around so kind of a darkness, kind of filling them, trying to feed them from a love perspective, but in a really distorted way. And what essentially happens is this new version of filling ourselves with love, and it never should be about filling ourselves or finding our other half or the one or whatever. We need to find that in ourselves first before we can ever expect to connect with another in a unattached way. And that's where it's got it all mangled up and backwards. We're taught to give this love to our parents. We're taught to give, this is how we receive love from our parents. And sometimes it's in distorted ways because they have traumas. They may not allow you to be emotionally available. They always cry, they always scream, they always sad or whatever. And then you got to love them. And hello there, Haiti. And then we end up in this kind of never-ending cycle of trying to please, and that's the only way we know love afterwards. So, and then we fast forward into our dating world, our marriage world, or whatever you want to call it, and we've got all these societal programmings that say, thank you for the peace and love, that say, this is the way we have to do it. And if we are good and the person, we're nice to the person and all this kind of thing, then we're going to feel more love. We're going to feel more happiness. We're going to feel whatever, but seldom it works that way. We get kind of mangled up in pleasing each other and then things get mixed up, and then we're not sure where it breaks, but somebody takes too much or somebody doesn't give or whatever, and we end up angry and we end up frustrated and we end up feeling not met, and there's no communication mechanisms to explain that. And when we're asking for love in these kind of mangled up ways because we never learned like really true unconditional love, it can become a nightmare. All of a sudden we're lashing out, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're feeling empty, and we don't know how to fix that. And all we've ever been taught is to give more. And that seldom works, because really we end up in a situation where we're trapped in an old pattern, and we need to really start to look underneath it and start to become aware of why. So why do we need to get married, for example? And I had a big, long conversation with a lady friend today. She's in the middle of having a divorce. And I'm asking her, okay, well, why do you need to get married? And she's like, okay, well, it's giving me the 3D stuff, right? Well, that's the way that you can have sexuality. That's the way you have children. You make a commitment to another, blah, 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 which is a story. It was created by an expectation. Our parents did that. That was what everybody did. You always, a part of happiness is to get married and to find someone to take care of us so that we have somebody to look after us until we're dead or whatever, and our positives and negatives. But underneath, okay, this is a story that's told us, and it's got a whole bunch of gates that I call it. So let's consider a gate. Okay, in Catholic culture, which I grew up in, it said if you want to have sexuality in your life, you have to be married first. So it's like, okay, to open that gate, I have to find a woman that I'm going to make a lifelong commitment to having to hold, to cherish and love, all that kind of stuff, which is a marriage vow. And then we go into that, and then we can have sexuality, which means I can have children, I can and share a house with a person, etc. Why did the church get control over that? Why do I have to do this commitment act and make it legal in a legal system, et cetera, et cetera? It has all these rules with it that nobody really knows what all the rules are. You don't get a list that says this is what your expectations are. And then we jump into marriage with someone, and now we're committed. And now all of a sudden that other person smiles at somebody else or whatever, then we're jealous. And then there's all these energies that show up. Is that thing that we call marriage serving us? How many people are not even bothering to get married anymore? They're in common law. How many people got into marriages and then they were trapped, or it was a way of losing half their stuff because the other person wasn't as committed? How many times did abuse happen? Other things. It doesn't guarantee a purity of anything. If anything, it just kind of makes an expectation of how that person is supposed to treat you. Sometimes in some cultures that marriage is a property kind of thing. It's like, okay, I now own you and you own me. And these aren't serving anymore. And it's very obvious. There's a lot of people out there that are, what are we at? A 60% divorce rate in the world. Why is marriage not working? Why are, if sex is so important not to be had until you have a marriage, why are kids experimenting in high school and all these other places? You go to college and you explore your wild oats, and not everybody's doing it, but there's people that aren't aligning with that system. And I'm going to tell you, based on my experience and many discussions with other people, that thing of getting to a level of divorce and not having the communication, not having all the things that you need be agreed upon as part of a marriage agreement is the very thing that it destroys a marriage. It's just like, okay, I'm holding on to you and you're stuck, and nobody's really agreed to these things that their past upbringing believes them marriage is. How many people that are married here had a discussion about what marriage means to you before you got married? How many people sat and understood that jealousy and being attracted to other people and all this kind of stuff is a part of human life? How do you handle those things? How do you just assume that the other person can't be attracted to someone else that might want to have a conversation with them? what's all this stuff about affairs? It's like, okay, I'm not happy with my marriage, so rather than talk about it, I'm going to go and explore this with somebody else and then destroy this thing that's marriage. Really, a marriage to me, and it's not saying I don't agree with it, but a marriage puts bonds on us that we haven't even agreed to, and it's the very reason it destroys itself afterwards. We have all these expectations, we have all these attachments, we have all these things that were never agreed to, and then when they get broken or they're not aligned with, we throw the other person away and we get really angry, we get really broken. And if you've been loving them and giving parts of your love, you're shattered after your marriage because part of your love stayed with your partner. You hate them so badly and you hate the peace that's with them. It's something that's very broken. Why do we even have relationships? We have relationships to get connected with other people, have vulnerable conversations, maybe get vulnerable enough that you want to share pleasure with them and touch bodies and these kind of things. Where's the shame fit in? Where's the shame? Does it have to have marriage with it because the culture and the religion you live in says that? Or how would your parents think or whatever? But people are having relationships anyways. They're having sexuality. They're living with each other without having to have marriage. Is this the corruption of things, or is it just basically saying that the way we're loving is broken? So what I'm asking people to do is go underneath and what's your whys? And if your marriage is breaking up, and a lot of people are, and they're not happy with it, they're not even breaking up, but they're living with it because it would destroy the family, it would destroy the kids, it would give a wrong impression with our parents. Why are we saying stuck in something that's not serving us? So example, I went through a 15-year marriage. And by the end of that 15 years, I realized that my wife had a trauma and she wasn't interested in sexuality. And if anything, we were roommates. We had nothing to do with physicality. But I'm not blaming her. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying things change in 15 years. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a spiritual being, your lessons, you come together for a relationship a lot of times for lessons with other people. And a lot of people are going into marriage, bypassing all their lessons, saying, oh, I can't talk about that, or that's going to destroy our marriage, when it was the very thing that you needed to. And after 15 years or 20 years, you're sitting here and you're got an anchor of another person that's maybe not doing their work, or somebody that isn't willing to talk or whatever. What do you do in that situation? How do you have that conversation? How do you make a choice? Well, right now, the acceptable way is to have a divorce. Just chop it off on the head and say, okay, I can't deal with this. When really we need to have communities. We need to have places where people hold us in vulnerability and encourage us to be vulnerable, to talk about that stuff, do the work, and realize that life is flowing. Love is something that comes and goes in different ways. And to love someone in an attached way where you're married and you have to be this and all this kind of stuff, it's insanity to keep trying to meet something that hasn't even been discussed. And then we hate ourselves, and then we're angry, and then we throw the other person away, and we shatter it, when really it just needed a community of people to start talking. I don't know, are you saying yes, Roxanne, or you have a question? If you got a question, place it down there. But if you're agreeing, I thank you. So why are we going into relationship? What are we needing to be met? How independent are we? Are we reliant on having a partner for our safety? Are we reliant for having a person that I'm now somehow committed to cuddle me, to touch my body, to do all these things because all these other rules say that's the only way to do it? Well, I'm saying we've given our power away. We've given our power away to religion, to other people, to what expectations our parents have, what our friends might think of us, etc. When really we need to start consciously negotiating our relationship contracts. We need to start consciously understanding and letting our partners know what our expectations are. It's like, hey, when I give love to you, or I cuddle you, or I give you a massage or whatever, I'd really love to have an equal massage back, or in some other way, something. But to sit there and say, oh yeah, you never got around to doing that, and I'm all frustrated and stuff, which most of us do, because we haven't communicated. We don't have a relationship contract. We don't have communication with each other. That's where our love and relationships need to start from, not from, oh, we went on a bunch of dates. He meets all the check boxes. She meets all the check boxes. I think she's safe. Yeah, I want to be married with them. we'll wait and see how the sex is until after we get married because that's what my religion says. And then you're really angry in a year or whatever because all the fun times or the initial just kind of wears off, and we're like, holy frick, I never really consciously agreed to anything before this other than now I'm locked in and we have a house together and we combined all our items and other stuff. I really think the strongest relationships are going to have independence to them. They're going to be like, you have your place, I have my place, we can go back to our corners, we spend a lot of time together, maybe one's a primary house or whatever. But if we're all in and things don't work out, or the other person doesn't change, or maybe we can't change in what's going on, when you're all in, you're kind of foobarred when all of a sudden things aren't working out and you don't want to live together and you're angry. And then it's like, destroy your house, destroy your whole life, destroy everything because you made this massive commitment to another person before you really knew them at the levels that are important. And dating becomes this like coming up with all these decisions and all this kind of stuff based on past experience and protecting yourself and fear and worry, when really, when we're attracted to someone, what we think is love, that vibrational thing where you have butterflies in your tummy and all this kind of stuff, I have come to understand that that's a vibrational match. It means that you're both at a vibrational level that would be compatible for some learning, some depth, some shared experience together. And most people think, oh, okay, well, that's my twin flame, my soulmate, my whatever. You can have multiple of those during your life. And if you do your work and you move through it, there's no guarantee that other person is going to move through it at the same rate as you or find things. They may move faster than you. They may leave slower than you. And we're putting a marriage and the well-being of children and all this kind of stuff based on us doing our work. Relationships is the deepest form of spiritual work. It's a person that's going to see everything inside you and be vulnerable. But far too often, marriage is not an exploration of that. Marriage is, oh, let's hide all this stuff because I don't want to lose my marriage and I don't want to have a divorce and that's all too scary. And it's a mess. So what I'm saying is we should build our love from learning, from starting at the beginning to go in deep and start to figure out, are we loving them so they'll love us? Problem. Are we loving equally together? Well, okay, maybe that's good. Or is one side stronger or the other side stronger? And you're gonna want to go in, you're gonna want to say, okay, I can change him or her, or I can improve this. And talking to a lot of people, that doesn't happen, because really, once we understand our spiritual side, we're not here to fix anyone. We're here to work on ourselves. And if the relationship is about ourselves first, and I'm not saying being selfish in a way where you just take advantage of someone, but I'm saying being selfish is, my needs come first. If they're not aligning with my needs, we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to find out what their needs are too. And I'm going to meet them or agree to meet them, or maybe not agree to meet them, and get that clear up front. That selfishness is self-love. That selfishness is you figuring out what your needs are first. And because we literally almost prostitute ourselves by just saying, oh, I love this person, and or I'm not sure another one's going to come along or whatever. Instead, I really, really think, instead of just chasing marriage and trying to meet the expectations of everybody around us, instead go into a 3-month relationship container with someone. Instead of dating and trying to figure out stuff, go all in with someone for 3 months and say, at the end of that 3 months, we're going to have a discussion, and it's perfectly okay for either side to say no. But during that 3 months, guess what? From this point onward, you got to be crystal clear on everything. You can't run away. You can't say F off. You can't whatever. And you're going to go and do the work that shows up. By the end of that 3 months, you're really going to know if that person is doing their work. You're really going to know if that person fits your needs. And it's going to be a hell yes, or it's going to be maybe, or it doesn't feel right now. But it doesn't feel right when you're having a conversation at the end. It's not ghosting them, saying, fuck off, it's not you, it's me, or whatever. You're saying, hey, I really enjoyed it. I felt you were a little needy at times, and here's how I felt it, and this is how I experienced it, and it didn't make me feel well. I tried to talk to you about it a bunch of times, but you're still protecting yourself. So at this moment in time, it's not a hell yes, but holy crap, we had a lot of good experiences. Maybe the sex was good, whatever. And let's just agree to kind of continue on and see, as we do our work, if we become more compatible over time. And then in a year, 5 years, whatever, you may bump into that person again, and it's like, holy shit, you're a different person. Because right at that point in time, you just had to learn that one thing. He was highlighting for you, or she was highlighting for you. And now all of a sudden you're like, holy fuck, you're a different person. And I already know that person, because once you've been sexual with a person, once you've had really deep vulnerability, had fights, had love, had fun, had play, that's a friend for life in a lot of ways. But we trash that a lot of times because they're not meeting the marriage requirements, or they were bad, they looked at somebody else, or they made me jealous, or whatever, and we just throw people away for it. So what's the reasons you're trying to get married? And if it's for filling yourself, trying to fill that hole, trying to complete yourself, trying to be safe, trying to save money on bills and all that kind of stuff, those things are going to come back to haunt you. But if you're connecting and you're loving based on a genuine desire and a getting met by that person, and feeling that you can trust them, a whole new relationship agreement starts. And that's more what I call love. That's more what I call self-love. And it's less about feeding the system, trying to get rid of being called single. Women get called spinsters or whatever. I know it's a thing. They want to get married before they can't have kids anymore. There's all these pressures in society that are forcing us to make decisions when really none of them are from self-love. They're from needs, they're from lack, they're from trying to satisfy parents, they're a church. How do we meet all this kind of stuff? And I'm going to say, don't jump into those things, because divorce is a mess, and it takes you like 5 years to recover yourself. It can be the biggest teacher in your life, but really it's just a path of getting your love back and loving yourself enough and rebuilding to the point that you can make different decisions. And it's maybe not from filling someone else with love, or needing to be filled, but from, I'm 100% loving of myself, and I'm going to start having strong communications. I'm going to go into containers that help me explore a person and myself, so we can assess our compatibility and keep me in integrity of honoring my commitments and those kind of things, and magic's going to happen. So a lot of us are choosing relationship, marriage, etc. for pushed reasons or societal reasons. And I'm saying it's time to come back to yourself, time to love yourself, time to start being aware of your whys before you jump in and combine everything with another person and then have a big fallout later and be angry, be broken, be destroyed for a bunch of your life. So, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to start talking a little bit about relationship containers, and can you imagine if you took all this judgment around sexuality and pleasure and how it has to be behind marriage and all this kind of stuff, because people are doing it already. So don't go to me and say I'm destroying morals and all this kind of stuff. People are doing it already. So it's happening. So why is it happening? Because there's something broken in the old way and it's not working out. I can talk to you about a lot of really repressed people around sexuality, some of the religions that are out there, and it's just destroying people and shaming them completely about their pleasure, their self-love, their even the ability to masturbate in the Catholic Church or whatever is verboten for 2,000 years. Now we need to get back to meeting ourselves first. And then once we can meet ourselves first and self-love ourselves 100%, then we're prepared to go into marriage, relationship, other things. And if you're not completely there, go into a relationship container with someone where you're going to be held accountable for that 3 months while you work through your shit. And things are going to turn out so much better. it's the new way. That's more of a 5D reality. We'll get into discussions about so many shames and guilts that have come up that are keeping people from being themselves, doing what they want, feeling pleasure. And that's the worst thing that you can possibly do. It's taking the birthright away from all of us. And then we're trying to do it in these perverted ways through marriage and other things, without any communication, without any understanding of our partner's traumas or any of these things. And it's just a nightmare. So I hope this helps. It was a little bit of a longer one, but the traditional way of all these things is very apparently broken based on what I see and the statistics of what's going on. And there needs to be a new way. And I'm here to advise a new way and to get people into a container that they can use that and explore it. So love you all. If you got any questions, please put them in the notes or direct message me. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. I'm a little bit tired. I'm going to go have a nap. Love you all. Talk to you soon, and keep shining, and talk to you soon.